Greetings, podcast listeners, and welcome to My Shot of Life podcast with your co-hosts, Steven and
Victor.
On this week's episode, we will be discussing Big Brother and the idea about being watched, listened to, and tracked in some manner almost all the time in today's society. This week, we're sipping on Buffalo Trace, which is some Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey straight out of Tennessee. Is that right? Is it Tennessee?
It was purchased in Tennessee.
It was purchased in Tennessee. It is out of
Kentucky.
You idiot! You said that.
It's Kentucky straight
I
bourbon
thought
whiskey.
it could have been Kentucky. It could have been, they brewed it the same way they do it in
Wrong.
Kentucky.
Wrong. It's from Buffalo Trace Distillery.
Well, anyways, the Buffalo Trace
Kentucky.
Distillery in Kentucky. Who knew that existed? And
Literally everyone.
And today, during our toilet talk, we'll be talking about electronics in the bathroom. Helping us with our discussion today, a good friend, Justin Groeger. How's it going, Justin?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right. Thanks for joining us over our beverage of the week. So we'll be having our review session of the whiskey at the end of the episode. So, guys, glasses up. Cheers.
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 Get a little bit of this in.
It's meaty.
Mmm.
Very meaty.
All right. So, Big Brother.
Let's kick this bad boy off. So I've got a big brother.
I am a big brother.
I'm also a Big Brother, so does that mean...
We're mixed big brother.
I feel like we've got this covered.
Should we even talk about where the term came from? Because we know that it originated in the 1984 novel, or the novel 1984.
I guess the application of the word, I don't know if it necessarily originated, but that specific application of Big Brother.
I guess when you think of someone looking over you, you would think of a big brother taking care of you, or at least like watching out for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe that's where the concept came from. We've become to know the term Big Brother as some sort of spying or privacy infiltration, right? And then now this isn't anything new, but we've known since 2013, I guess, whenever Snowden came out. Was that 2013 when Edward Snowden?
Around then.
Something like that, right? And he came out and said that the government had the ability to spy on everyone in the United States. So that's not a surprise, I guess.
I don't understand, I guess, why people were so shocked by this. And I think the biggest thing now with the whole Nunes memo release, which is the most recent instance of
That's the FBI release during the
Yeah,
they watched,
election process, or
They
what is
watched
that?
Trump illegally during the election.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Right.
was part of the Russia investigation, whatever they wanted to claim it as. But the big hit was Samsung most recently. And Steven, I know you pulled up a long time ago on Reddit because a couple years ago when I moved into my house, I purchased a smart television, and I wanted the best picture on the market, which was Samsung at the time, and they're still putting out good product. So, you pulled up some sort of article on Reddit that was discussing that very thing.
And I think it came. Well, I think it was leaked to WikiLeaks, and I want to say it was about a year or so ago when it was some FBI or CIA memo saying that smart TVs had the ability to pick up some of the conversation or some of the audio that was around them, and it was more or less like how an Alexa could pick up a command and then record it, but then also Alexa can pick up other audio sound bites or something like that.
Yeah, when
even if you're not talking to it, right?
Right.
But we know that TVs have the ability to do that as well.
And now people are freaked out by it, and I'm sitting here like, you really didn't even think about
your
that?
Cell phone and
Yeah,
2 feet away from
I
you.
think. And so is it one of those things where we've given away that privilege of privacy, or I mean, even to sacrifice a little bit of security, or not even security, but convenience, right? So we have these smartphones that we carry around all day. We have access to the internet 24/7, and whenever we want to use our data to look up Facebook or social media,
My Shot of Life.
myshotoflife.com.
Twitter and Instagram.
But yeah. So is it us giving up that sort of privacy or that personal right, or is it the government or corporations taking that too far?
I'd definitely say it's probably more the corporations. I
Right.
mean, you can look up something one time, and then you go on Facebook or you're like scrolling through Google, and it's like, hey, here's that thing you looked at.
There's those
Oh my God.
targeted ads.
That's the thing I hate the most. You go on a
whatever.
completely random website, and then you have the thing on the side that says, "Oh, you looked at a pair of shoes, 6 hours ago." The same pair.
So I looked up just recently. Steven is in the process of moving out of the house, and I was asking him
We're gonna end the podcast.
where he was not sure where he was moving to, and he told me the location, and so I typed it in to my computer, and I looked at the place, and I was like, man, this is a pretty nice place. Next day, I'm checking my email. What pops up on the side?
Oh.
Advertising for apartments in X location.
That's weird, man. I'm surprised they don't know that you own a home.
I know, right? You think they'd do their
Do the research,
I mean,
Do
who
your
knows?
research
Maybe
a
I
little
want
bit.
an apartment for my side hoe.
You have a side hoe
I don't have any
for
hoes.
Jackson. You
Yeah,
can put Jackson in
needs
the
his own
apartment.
place
The only hoes I
sometimes.
have are Swiss cake rolls. Ho-hos.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Okay. Do they still make what is Twinkies?
Hostess. Is it
Hostess?
Hostess is still around.
No, I thought they were out of business.
No, they got purchased and they still.
Okay,
Makes it.
but they're not. Hostess is not the corporation that makes the.
I think it's still Hostess.
Is
Might
it
be
still
owned by
Hostess?
someone else, but it's
It's
still,
got so it's a
yeah.
You're
subsidiary.
not gonna lose that brand name.
Nah.
Okay. Yeah, you can't
Hostess
making the
with the
Twinkies.
mostest.
I heard Twinkies last for 20 years.
Mm.
Anyways, we're getting way off subject here.
So I guess, I mean, we were talking about, it's not even at the corporate level, I think, at this point, because the government is going to these corporations, as we've seen with phone companies. They're asking for these phone records and things. It's on the government end, but I think some of the things we want to hit on today are, being that we all know this kind of goes on, and we may not know the full extent, but to what extent we do understand that Big Brother is watching. I guess, what is your opinion on that? Do you feel safer? Do you feel creeped out? A combination of both? Do you think it's for the greater good, as they may say? What's the opinion, at least from a governmental perspective?
Well, I did listen to a few different arguments the other day, and I felt like when we were talking about this podcast, or at least we talked about discussion to bring it on the podcast, I wanted to do a little bit of research and listen to some people talk about it. And there was a guy who he wasn't a defect FBI agent, but he used to work in the FBI, and then he also worked in some other point of government, and he was talking about how he thought it was a intrusive, at least from the NSA's perspective, he thought it was intrusive into to personal lives. And then you had another FBI agent who was in the current field at the moment, talking about how he thought it was very beneficial for them to help track down potential terrorists.
I mean,
Sorry,
it can be both.
it can be both, but I feel like we don't have any evidence that it has been successful at this time.
Not that we know of.
Exactly, that we know of. We don't have any any data available that will say that, oh, well, since the Patriot Act or since the NSA has been formed, we've been able to stop 10 terrorist attacks or 5 or what, no matter what it is. And I think if we had that data out there, it would kind of help sway the public opinion a little bit. But right now, it looks like it's heavily weighted on one side, saying that it seems very intrusive for no reason. There's no benefit from it. I personally don't like the fact that companies or even our governments have the ability to spy on us, but we've gotten so far in the technology route. I think we're personally sacrificing all this stuff.
Do you get the feeling that it's, at a certain point, it becomes the consumer's or the individual's fault? I mean, you're so connected in every aspect of your life. Every second you have your phone on you. The newest meme out there is the FBI guy, where every night I kiss my front-facing camera and say, "Good night, Mr. FBI man."
Is
That's
that really?
Is that
Yeah,
it's
I haven't seen that.
new meme out there
That's the
for all
hot
you.
one.
Oh, I thought the hot one was the kid from the Super Bowl.
Who is Justin
Who's Conor
Groeger?
McGregor?
So, I mean, at what point do you think, we're kind of bringing this on ourselves?
Personally, I think we have. I don't think it's right that despite us having phones all the time and being able to access things, all the internet and other applications 24/7, gives them the right to have the access to the information. But I do think that us doing that has opened the opportunity for them to get the information, and so that's kind of, we're part of the blame for that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
What do you think?
I think it's kind of like a one-way street. Once people start, like, everybody wants the new tech.
Yeah.
The new tech comes with that. I guess you could say that the new tech comes with that baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh yeah, look at this like new camera. It detects like the
iPhone X.
The iPhone detects your face.
Yeah.
And people are always like, oh, it's cool. Like, it does this cool little gimmicky thing, or Snapchat.
Yeah.
Oh, it has these cool filters, but people are like, yeah, the government's just building a database of everybody's face
exactly.
and facial recognition.
So what do you think
systems.
about the facial recognition? Do you think it's pretty creepy?
I guess, I don't know.
Does it matter
I don't
anymore?
think it matters anymore.
It probably
to a
doesn't.
certain like, you can just Google somebody's name, and it's going to be like their Facebook profile picture pops up as image number 1.
And that's information that we've just given,
You just give it
the
away.
public for free.
I mean, there are a couple things that, from watching, spy movies or whatever growing up, you look at the technology that they were using, and we're getting to the point where we're utilizing certain technologies. You try to get into a locked room or a safe, and you scan your fingerprint or you scan your retina. And we're getting to the point now where, like, we're starting with facial recognition. And
you can just do that to get into your phone now.
Yeah, and now we're getting to the point where everyday technology is utilizing these, spy movie effects.
I wonder if that's part to blame. You watch all the spy movies and you want to be cool, and you're like, oh, I want to have this phone because I want to do what they did in the movie. I can just log into my phone using my face.
And what's interesting about that is a lot of this stuff is designed to be foolproof. The safest or best way to secure something is with a unique identifier, either your retina or your fingerprint, which is, extremely difficult to mimic in any way. That's why we have criminal databases set up with fingerprints.
Ideally, it would be extremely difficult to do a retina scan, but I've seen videos on YouTube where it's been easy for a sibling or a relative to log into someone else's phone. So
if we're moving in that direction, like, at what point is it? I mean, they're just going to have everything. Whoever's out there collecting.
Well, how much farther can you get?
That's.
So how far can you get after that? That's the future, But what else could it be? You have your fingerprint. Your fingerprint at birth is supposed to be, or has been thought to be, unique to any other individual in the world, right? Or at a very, very small percentage that you could match up with some other person. So we've already given them that information, and I feel comfortable. I won't say feel comfortable. I use the fingerprint recognition all the time. I'm fine with it now, but then I personally don't like the facial recognition. But which one weighs more? Does it even matter if I've already given them my fingerprint? They already know who I am. Instead of my facial recognition, it's just another layer. That's something that's been weighing on me, but I don't think it matters.
What about?
They already have enough information on us.
How do you guys feel about, not just the visuals, but more of, like, picking up audio conversations like we discussed with the Samsung Smart TV, or any smart TVs specifically, and then also you have your phone on you constantly, GPS pinging and location services. They're not necessarily always turned on, but I mean, I know from listening to other true crime podcasts that if the phone is on at any time, it can be pinged in order to locate it, which is why some people say, normal citizens, not drug dealers, normal citizens should buy burner phones with
they can't
GPS
triangulate
capabilities. Yeah, and then you can turn it on, you can keep it charged, turn it on, and put it in, like, your glove box or something, hidden away in your car. So if your car's ever stolen, you have however many hours that battery lasts to be able to ping that cell phone, find your car. So how do you feel about audio recordings, whether it be your phone calls or everyday conversations, and then also the GPS aspect of it being able to be located anywhere.
Julia.
Yeah. When you mention it like that, it sounds like a good thing, and I'm assuming that's how people would market it. Like, oh yeah, just leave your phone in the car so we can always know where you are. But then
That's what they want you
that's
to
what they
know.
want you to do. Yeah, that's what they want you to do. I guess it's a good thing until it ends up being a bad thing, until you end up doing something that you don't mean to do or something, and you're like convicted because of your cell phone in your glove box.
Right.
Or someone gets access to that.
I think with the phone, it's kind of an obvious thing. It's already transmitting data whenever you're making a phone call.
You have to know at that
You have
point.
to know. I mean, it's hard to draw a line saying that it's fair, but I think it's one of those you're trailing on the line of how obvious it is when
I
you're
think it
having.
would be more fair because a lot of the applications that you do run on your phone have location services that you can turn on or off depending on the use of the application. And so a lot of the times I select, I'll go in and adjust it to say if the app is running, sure, use my location services. And some of them you have to. If I'm trying to stream a game, it's going to black me out because it's going to know where I'm at. But sometimes, I mean, they're just running in the background and that's it. Your
I mean,
locations-
there are apps that you don't even give them the authorization to do that, but then I think they still do it anyways.
Yeah.
And maybe that's
And-
in the terms of service agreement. I don't know. But
No
I
one
don't think it
reads that.
is. I think that's just them gathering data. I will say the benefit of gathering data, we've seen things. We just upgraded our SoundCloud account, and we can see any area in the United States or in the world who's listened to our podcast, and we can see which town they're listening to or listening from. And that's really cool information for us to know that there's people in Florida listening to this podcast. There's people in Virginia listening to this podcast. But it doesn't necessarily benefit us in any way. We could maybe market that a little bit better.
Someday.
Yeah, sure,
we'll have
maybe.
sponsors
But
and
it's a little bit
someday-
weird that like whoever's listening to this right now could be like, wow, I'm in Virginia, and you know that I'm
They
in
know,
Virginia.
Like, hey, David, in Virginia.
Yeah, that'd be
It's
really.
also it's not real time with us because we're not constantly on SoundCloud looking at who's
Well, I know,
listening
but when
right
we go
now,
in there and
but-
look at it, we see that.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw today we had four listeners in Japan, and we have 4 in Italy,
It's my fam, bro.
possibly. Victor is very Italian.
Kind of true.
Someone would say the Italian stallion.
The one Italian stallion. So I guess moving along the
Well,
scale.
I want to add something to this. All right.
Okay.
So, and I don't mean to cut you off or anything. I just mean to add another layer. Is that so? We have the phones. Say that you don't even adopt the phone plan. You're like, I'm gonna go landline. I'm gonna live my life without a cell phone. But you have so many people in the world who have cell phones. I mean, name one person that you know that doesn't have a cell phone, right? Everyone has one.
My
probably.
great aunt.
Name 2 people you don't know.
Name-
that's-
Dang it. Her mom. So, yeah, name. I'm sure there's no one in your family or my family. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. My grandpa maybe doesn't have a cell phone, but ideally anyone our age or our parents probably have a cell phone.
Yeah.
So even when you're going out in public, despite not having this device, you're susceptible to the consequences of having the device, right? So you don't have it, but the audio can still pick up activity that you're doing, or the camera, or whatever it is, from
Of
someone
someone
else's phone,
else's.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good segue into another aspect here that we were going to highlight was the idea of this YouTube culture that's out there these days with the constant vlogging and vlog channels. So these people are out there and they're vlogging their everyday lives because they're YouTube stars or whatever you want to
Logan
call them.
Paul.
They're dirt bags, a lot of them.
Well,
And
yeah.
so they're out there vlogging, right? And they're recording everything that's going on in their daily life. That includes not just them, it's everyone around them.
Yeah.
So they're not getting, people's approvals who are around them having their everyday lives, living them out. that they're going to be on camera. They could potentially be recorded at any time by these people walking around recording their lives. And so one aspect of that is, at what point can you draw the line where it's, is that fair that you're out there potentially being recorded by these people and not aware of it? And then the other aspect of that is these people, these YouTube vloggers, are most likely making money on their vlogs that they're posting on the internet and that people are watching. So are you not entitled to some sort of compensation for your feature, whether it be 2 seconds or 20 seconds of you,
And you're considering the people who are just walking in the background of the video.
Yeah, they're completely unaware that they're being recorded, most likely.
Mm-hmm.
How is that fair?
I guess it's not.
I think the biggest reason that that's this deep end conspiracy here, but
Yeah.
the biggest reason that there aren't any rules around this is that the government doesn't mind it, because it's just another way that they can have an arm out there. These people are recording
Sure.
all of this video and putting out in public space. So now it's accessible by anyone, including the government.
But you could, if you're having someone on your show, you have to have a. You have to, they have to
Some sort
sign
of
a
disclosure
waiver or a
agreement or
disclosure
whatever,
agreement
yeah.
or something like that, right? Is that only if you're directly asking them questions? So, like, if you're filming something and then someone's committing murder in the background, you don't have to have a disclosure agreement with that person.
The person committing murder.
Yeah. Not that they would come around and say, "Hey, you mind if I sign this paper so I don't have to be on the camera?"
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Is
Or
like there's
I can't be
no
on the
there's
camera.
no rules around this. There's out there gallivanting, recording everything, and you could be out there,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Just be
staring at
yeah.
kids in a park, Steve.
What?
What? I don't know.
My son does not go to the park.
There you go. Good cover. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you may be seen in a light that you don't want to be seen in
Yeah.
because you're being recorded without your knowledge. Sit on that.
I don't know what to say other than,
Do you think it's fair? That's the one question.
is it
Justin?
fair?
I guess you could say it's maybe not fair, but you'd also have to think about like the practicality of if you're downtown and you're vlogging and you're outside of like a bar and literally 40 people walk out of it, you have to track down 40 people and get them to sign off on something when you're just taking a
Just
selfie
vlogging.
video
Yeah,
for
so that
20 seconds.
you've brought up the other side of it is, regardless of whether or not it's fair on the party unknowingly being recorded, who are those people to say that, hey, you're not allowed to
But
vlog?
I think it kind of actually comes down to like something with like public space. I think there is I know from photography, like in a photography class, they've done like, oh, if you're in a public space, it's like you're in public domain. So I can take a photo of you and you can't be upset.
So you're
if I
saying by
sell that
being
photo.
out in public, you're already waiving your
I
right
think
to.
That
I
sounds,
could
the
be
people are
talking
there
over
on their
myself.
own accord.
Well, if we're talking
They're not
about this,
being-
certain cities have CCTVs,
Mm.
right? And so
Good
you could be
segue.
walking around town and you could knock over a trash can or throw it on the, break it or whatever you
Rip
want
out
to do
a
to it.
tree and then the city knows about it.
Yeah, and so they have a
Well.
CCTV in the downtown district, or even however far they want to go with it, and they catch you on that TV because you're in city limits and you did something inappropriate. I mean,
I guess that would most people would say that's the benefit of it.
yeah, that's the benefit is
No.
to keep it safe, right? Or to keep it safe and to keep it orderly, in a way, so you can punish those people who are being unorderly.
being bad.
They
Being bad.
Bad boys for life.
Bad boy.
Bad.
bad boy.
They're just doing hood rat stuff with their friends.
That's all they're doing, man. Sometimes you just got to do that, though.
I guess, again, is that
Well,
fair? I
man.
mean, it's being established and paid for by government funds. It's not like, I guess you could say my tax dollars are going to CCTV.
Do you think that if that's the case, right? If we're paying for the CCTV stuff, and we know that crimes are being stopped because of it, should they be required to give us a report saying that
Well, I mean,
the
most
use of the
police report-
CCTV has shut down criminal
It's,
activity by 20%?
That would be great. Let's make it
Do you
happen.
think they should market it like that at nothing?
Yeah, right. Then people be like,
hey,
"Oh,
all
this
this
yeah,
stuff
no,
you
it's a
gotta
great
freak
idea."
out about.
We know you're not excited about being recorded all the time, but
It works.
we stopped
You know
12
that
people
creepy
from
guy?
being murdered
Yeah.
yesterday.
Remember that creepy guy?
We got him.
I mean, that would be very interesting, and I think if they did market it that way, people would be very accepting of it.
But I wonder if they don't market it so it stays, because you don't hear about it. Most people, you don't hear about it.
So
Out of sight, out of mind. You
Okay.
don't think that they're always watching you. They're like, hey, just a reminder, we're always watching you. We always catch you. People might not be stoked on that.
Well, so if you think about, we'll use red light cameras.
Yeah.
For as an example, it's not quite the Big Brother equivalent to what we're talking about, but if you run a red light, what are the odds that if you know that a camera is there, going to catch you, and it's going to catch you if you run a red light, that you're going to run that red light? Is it still going to be the same, or is it going to decrease?
Living in the area that we live in, so Steven and I, depending on the route you take home from the office every day,
Saunders.
there are potentially 2 intersections in our short, like 3.2 mile
Yeah.
commute from the office with cameras. So knowing that, and then knowing that I have made this trip hundreds of times, I drive the same as I would anywhere else. And I've actually had it early in the morning. I was actually driving out to a client, and you come out from like under an overpass, and then the light is like right there, and it had turned yellow while I was under the overpass. And so I slam on my brakes, and I stop like halfway through the intersection, and I see the light flash for the red camera.
You just bolted through
Taking
it.
a picture of me stopped in the intersection, and I put it in reverse because it was 5 a.m. No one's on the road, and I reversed back, and I did not get a ticket.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
That
nice.
is the nice thing about
I didn't
those
realize that.
cameras is that they are smart enough and
Or
intelligent
was it
enough
your
to
phone?
know.
I think
they
it's
were watching your phone and they knew you backed up.
Maybe
I think it's
They
because like
plugged
once
in the
you
GPS.
Hey.
take off, they take the picture expecting you to cross the
Yeah.
line fully. So
maybe
they
it
can
didn't get a
capture
picture
your-
of my license plate.
Exactly. I think that's what happens. They didn't get your license plate, and they're saying, "Well, it looks like the guy kind of backed up."
I think there's a small, spiteful part of my soul that's really stoked when somebody goes through and gets that flash. I'm like, you jerk, I saw you go through
You
that.
deserved it.
I was behind you. I stopped.
It
I saw that
happens
light
all
was
the
red,
time
and
because
I see it.
The one closest to our house is actually it's focused. I mean, it gets all 4 lanes or whatever are there, but the far right lane is going straight.
The far right
far
or the
right,
alt right?
far
Alt right.
The alt right
Alt-right
turning lane. You can make a right hand turn or continue
far right.
straight. And so when people make a right hand turn, it thinks people are going through the intersection, and so it flashes and takes
Yeah,
a
but
picture.
I wonder if
but it's
they
not
don't get it. Yeah, yeah.
No,
yeah.
because I've done it before, and
I mean,
know,
there's
it's
a
no big
there's
deal.
a traffic light right where I work, literally on the corner, and every day, probably every day, every other day, somebody gets it. Either when I'm going to work, going to
Gosh.
lunch, or coming from home.
And they probably know like at that light is a.
But
camera
it's
every
a
single time.
very big problem in Raleigh.
yeah.
People
I-
running reds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that's. I mean, we all agree it's kind of regardless of whether or not it makes you drive any differently, because I consider myself a moderately conservative driver for the most part. Does it make you drive any differently? And then we can agree that it's a benefit.
Well, I wonder. You say you don't drive any differently, but you haven't. Have you ever gotten a ticket
I have.
from one? You have. And you
Oh,
still don't.
twice actually.
You've gotten twice, and you still
the
don't
red
drive
light?
any different.
This was back in grad school on Hillsborough Street.
Because I know I got one.
Disaster.
I got one
Same
like
one.
a
It was like
year
a week
ago.
apart.
Is that near the sign that I hit?
I got one about a year ago, and it was like I kind of knew it. Like I had my dog in my back seat, and we just got her back from the vet, and I was like, I could either slam on my brakes and make this, and she's like half asleep and is gonna slam in my back seat. I was like, I'll just go through, and I didn't see it, and then what? It's like also it's so long later. It
Takes
was like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you
And if
could
you-
say I see it more. I was like, oh, I'll stop.
Yeah.
Like I'll think
Yeah.
about that maybe 1 out of 3 times.
Mine were unavoidable. At the time, I still had my PA plates, and so the tickets were being sent to my parents' house.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What's the ticket on that? Is it $50?
It wasn't bad.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
they
think it was
can't-
about $50.
'cause they
'Cause
can't tell
there
if
was
it's
not a
you, right?
cop, Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
something like 35, I think.
It's
But
like a
I mean,
parking ticket or
mine were like
something.
3
Yeah.
or 4 years. Mine
There's
were
there's no
years
points on your
ago.
license
Right.
for it.
Right.
I've disputed them in for like toll, and there's like a toll tunnel, I think going to Norfolk, and I was living in North Carolina at the time, or I'm currently still living in North Carolina. I was going to a show in Norfolk, came back through the tunnel, so there should have been 2. I should have got charged twice, and they sent the bill to my house, and there was 5. I was like, okay, so I called them. It's like, I live in North Carolina. There has to be an even amount of bills.
Yeah.
Because I have to go both
I didn't
ways.
Go back to
And
Norfolk and stay
they're like,
there.
oh, let me look that up. And they're like, oh, yeah, those aren't North Carolina plates for the last 3. I was like, what? Like,
How does that
yes,
happen?
how did that happen? So,
the same car.
same car, same address. I don't know. It was
Weird.
like all one right after each other.
Big Brother's watching.
Big Brother doesn't.
And
Big
making
Brother's
stuff
still
up.
learning.
Yeah, they're still
He's
learning.
learning.
You guys need to get that
Getting
shit
the
together.
hang of it.
It's not quite to 1984 level.
Right.
20 years later.
So if
or
we're
30 years
comparing,
later.
if we're comparing 1984 to, I guess where we're at today, right? 1984. I want to say they had like flat screen TVs that had cameras, right?
Big Brother was always watching.
It was
in-
always watching, but well, there
How
had to
would they
be.
have flat
I thought you were
screens,
talking about
but-
the year for a
No.
minute. I
And
don't
then-
know where my head's at.
I don't know when
was
the
like,
book.
they definitely
Well, the
didn't
book
have
was
flat
made in the
screens.
The book was
50s or
made,
something, right? Maybe the 40s.
We have computers.
Computerize it.
But
Okay,
anyways,
okay,
so
Google.
I'm gonna Google 1984, and tomorrow I'm gonna get an ad for 1984.
do you want to buy this book about the
Those are wonderful.
Published
Current-
in June of 1949.
1949? That's really crazy that he
That's
predicted
a
all that.
lot- Yeah, because it's.
Well, I don't even
I've
know if he
read the book
predicted
back
it.
in
He
the
just
day.
kind of, I think at the time I guess this is after World War II. He was expecting some sort of totalitarian government regime could possibly happen again in the future. Not that we live in one right now, but we've kind of sacrificed some of our freedoms for
Safety.
this safety. Well,
Great
it's not even.
debate.
It's not really our fault personally. I guess we could technically we could have been in the streets rioting against the Patriot Act, right?
We should have an uprising. Good old fashioned usurping of the government.
And if you want to go into the whole conspiracy theory portion of that, I think the Patriot Act was written before 9/11, but then 9/11 happened, and then the Patriot Act was it passed Congress probably
Gave it
a
the
month
seal of
later,
approval.
or
I mean,
a
we
mo- a
all
month
know.
later.
So they had Patriot Act in place. They wanted to get it in place, right? So
Yeah,
they
if that's
staged
the
this
conspiracy theory
inside
That
job
fuel doesn't burn
9/11.
yeah,
The Earth is flat.
everything.
Can't think of any other good ones.
But it is crazy that happened so fast, right? So it happened right. 9/11 happened. Patriot Act happened in 2001, right? Some year or some month in 2001, and so now we have the ability to spy on Americans. So that's pretty wild. Back to comparing to
It
1984.
was just over a month from 9/11 to
Whoa.
Patriot Act.
So, and
That's
if you
super fast. for,
exactly,
like, something like that.
but like I said, I think they already had the whole policy written before 9/11 happened, and then they were it streamlined. It was so much easier to pass it after everyone was scared of terrorist attacks. Who wouldn't want to give up their personal privacy to ensure that no terrorist would attack again? Well,
I mean,
it happened again.
yeah, that's. I would say yes. I would take that trade. I would,
If it
Gladly
never
give up
happened
freedoms.
ever again.
but it doesn't quite work. Like
It doesn't work that way. Getting back to the book, in the book they were watched most of the time, right? Because they had to have some sort of opportunity to talk about Big Brother outside of Big Brother itself.
But I think when they did that, they're mostly in a weird area, like they're in the woods or something.
Yeah. So,
I think
but
they're
they're still
mostly
not being
always watching.
if they're in the city limits or if they're around the town or whatever. But you can still get away from it, in the wilderness, like you're saying.
When you think of Big Brother in our world, nobody thinks of anything. There's nothing super bad. I mean, you're getting an ad for an apartment complex that you just looked at one time, but you're not getting crucified like in that book. Do you think it would ever get to that point, or how would you see it getting to that point? Do you think anybody would step up? Do you think the people would step up to stop it getting to that point?
Well, here's the thing. I think that we would be screwed before we even get to the opportunity to step up.
Like they would have you.
They could
before
have-
you got you. They would have you on the hook.
Exactly. So we have at this point in our lives the potential to build algorithms around everything and anyone. So I think that any data they can collect can build a profile on who you are.
Like a precog you, like in
Yes.
Minority Report.
Yeah. Well, maybe not that far, but I think that they can have enough information on you. So once you start building some sort of, say you're a leader of a revolution, say a law's coming out and you gather hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people to rally against a law that's trying to be passed. We'll say net neutrality is an example. They could shut your ass down so fast. They could call you up and blackmail you and say, listen, you can do what you're doing right now, but then we'll release somehow or some way some information about you is being released. And you may not like what is coming out about you.
I've never done anything bad. But what you're saying is,
so
regardless, they'll like frame you.
So if I were to look at your search history on your laptop,
yep,
from all time,
yep,
you would not feel uncomfortable about anything that I would see.
No,
that's a lie.
This laptop is fairly new.
Right now.
First of all,
any laptop, any cell phone that you've ever had, any text message you've ever sent.
I would say there are some I am not proud of, but
any
overall,
Snapchat,
okay,
any
Snapchat,
anything,
different story.
I just don't know how they
like
store. I don't know how they store any of this data though. There's so much data that we transmit every single day.
It's like that giant warehouse in the middle of the desert or
I know,
something like that.
Dude, can you imagine?
I mean, if you just think about, like, you can get a terabyte SD card as a consumer. So just think of what the government can have, like military level, and a terabyte can hold so much data, especially if it's just audio or pictures. Yeah. You could hold every picture you've ever taken in your entire life, probably. So just think about that, and that's an SD card. How many people are in America?
Do you think that they have some sort of compression system similar to what they did on Silicon Valley?
Oh yeah, I mean probably.
So super compression that you could have, like you're saying, every single line of data.
It might not be exactly that, but
right. But every single line of data you've ever sent in your entire life, they could fit on something so small or something so insignificant it wouldn't overrun any of the servers.
Size of your thumbnail.
And you have how many people in America?
4
people. There's one
There's
more.
At least,
there's the 3 of us.
There's
and
at least 3.
Possibly one more person. Hopefully,
your
one of our girlfriends
significant
are still
other,
alive.
right?
Because either Steven's or I's girlfriend is dead in this scenario.
A 2016 census. 323 million people.
You could fit 323 million, even just hard drives.
Oh my god!
In the middle of the desert. This is like the giga center of like data.
I don't know. I mean, the server room has to be huge, but I still think there's some sort of compression that has to make it so small.
Under Armour compression shorts.
They use Under Armour.
They
use Under Armour compression. What if Under Armour also made compression? For
that would
Guys,
be the best marketing turn ever.
We need to pitch this to Under Armour. They need to start working on compression algorithms.
We're gonna
for
pivot
computers.
real quick.
Okay.
We know we're crushing sports, but we're gonna get into tech.
Bring in the tech.
They
part.
are actually getting into tech, so I guess this isn't. I mean, it's kind of Big Brother, but kind of not. I don't know if they have like the rights to the information, but they're making smart fabric now that can track. You
can pick up your health information,
the like
your heart rate,
and I mean the overall design of the product isn't for sport. It's actually for undercover agents to wear. Governments can monitor spies because they're wearing. Oh man, his shirt is absorbing this much perspiration, which means his vitals are elevated. He must be in a sketchy situation. Those kind of things.
Well, as long as they're not wearing jawbones or what are the wristbands? Fitbits that are giving away their location.
Right.
Like some of
or
the.
An Apple Watch,
that's why this is.
Have you heard about that?
Watch.
This is all the clothing.
Some of the military personnel were wearing them on military bases. And so it was giving away their GPS coordinates.
People were like hacked into the signal.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So that's something that came out recently.
You would think you can't bring a Fitbit to Iraq. It has to be on the no list.
So I know
Right.
I know that came out pretty recently, and I think something else that came out pretty recently was the Raleigh Rambler, if I'm not mistaken.
the Raleigh Rambler every Sunday morning.
Sunday morning, yeah. I think for all you listeners out there, if you do live in the Raleigh area, we are going to start putting out podcasts on Sundays, known as the Raleigh Rambler Podcast. It's also going to have some show notes on the website, myshotoflife.com. Head on over to the page Raleigh Rambler for your weekly dose of events and activities going around in Raleigh.
So thanks for our sponsor, Raleigh Rambler.
We are our own sponsor.
Before we shift off the subject, because I know that you're easing into the most famous toilet talk, there was something else I wanted to bring up, and it was in-house security systems and Big Brother and how they're connected. Amazon, as you know, is the biggest company in the world right now. I mean, it started off as a book company, and then now it's become the biggest retailer in the world. And I saw in the past 6 or 7 months they had sent me an email saying, do you want to buy your in-house Amazon security system?
Oh,
and it looks like
I saw something about it.
It looks like a giant camera in your house.
They mount it to your door or something, and people can deliver packages, and they can drop it inside your house instead of on your porch.
Right. Well, that's Amazon Key.
Okay,
that does give them the ability to
but
unlock
Amazon Key
a smart.
is kind of a very creepy thing.
That's creepy as well. But I'm talking about just this giant camera that you'd put inside your house.
This is like Alexa Plus.
I would guess
Alexa's
so.
mom.
I'm thinking it's just an addition to the security system, and you can see what's going on in your house. But I still think it's weird that you can see, like, that you're going to be putting this camera in your house, and then I'm sure it's going to be accessible through some sort of Amazon app, and then they can monitor it through whatever they're doing. There was a guy tonight who we went out and grabbed a beer after work, and there was a guy who showed me a camera of his house, and his dog was in the living room or in their game room.
It's like a baby cam kind of.
Kinda, yeah. And he was able to pull up an app on his phone, show me the live feed of the camera, and his dog was sitting on the couch, awake, just hanging out by himself. Is that not weird? To you?
I think it's a little.
I don't like it.
I think as far as like all the listening, I think the Alexa, like the smart speaker, smart TV, I think that's where I probably draw the line.
Yeah, I don't.
It's like your phone. I guess it's really no different, but that's right.
I guess not.
Like, personally draw the line.
I'm the same way though. Like I guess you could say that the phone is probably giving it away. If you have a phone, you're probably giving away data, and they could probably listen to you at any moment.
But if you think about it, if you're talking to somebody on the phone and you just set it down and walk 4 feet away from that speaker, the person on the other line can't hear you.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
how much can they pick up?
Can hear you.
But the Alexa thing, I mean, they can hear you across the room and you're talking into it. And I don't like it.
It turns on, and when it thinks you said Alexa and you said nothing.
You were in a conversation with someone, it just does the little blue ring and it starts talking to you. So weird.
My phone does that even. It's just like it thinks I say, okay, Google, and I'm like just not talking. Oh, there it goes.
There it is.
Lit up. I'm 5 feet away from my phone.
It's so weird, man.
So I think that gets back to the subject of, like, you bringing it on yourself. You have to understand that these products aren't just there for you. They're there to record your behaviors, and it's not necessarily for anything threatening. It's more of an idea to better understand consumers, but you're subjecting yourself. I have a doorbell with a camera in it, so I know that, like, it's for security purposes. It's like, I want to know who's ringing my doorbell or walking in front of my door while I'm not there. You have to understand that it comes with a little bit of negative baggage.
You're settling on, we are sacrificing the convenience for our privacy, or we're sacrificing our privacy for convenience.
Yes. I also leave my Alexa unplugged at all times, unless I'm using it to listen to music.
I can kind of agree with that, but I still think it's inappropriate.
Your, like, aluminum foil hat.
I have a lot of aluminum foil.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I also don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's fair.
So what are you going to do, Steve? Live in the Stone Ages?
Well, I'm not going to do that, but I just don't know if it's the right thing to do.
Dude, you got to run for government.
The last thing, before we close out the subject, I want to ask you guys, do you think that us getting spied on and us transmitting this data constantly is more of a benefit than it is a consequence.
Yes.
Yes.
Seriously?
I'd say,
Okay.
I don't know. I think you just kind of, it's like a slippery slope. That's the way I look at it. It's like, yeah, like right now, it's not a bad thing. I mean, yeah, like maybe I just randomly Googled something and I get ads for like a book I looked at, but
or
I'm
you're on a
not
watch
interested
list.
in it. Yeah, or I'm on the watch list for one of the many things I Googled that I shouldn't be Googling. That's when you're talking about that. It's like, oh yeah, I just happened to Google something.
Someone shows up at your house in a black van.
How to get away with murder.
Like, how do you make a pipe bomb? You're like, I shouldn't have Googled
Right.
that. I'm definitely on a watch list. What can I not bring on this plane?
Yeah.
Crap.
Yeah,
Our
that's it. I think, and it's the same thing with like any aspect of life. You know, if you're obeying the rules, if you're living an average, normal, non-criminal life, like what exactly do you have to worry about? You know, yeah, my conversations are being recorded, and yeah, I might be spied on.
Well, this is where I'll
it's not like I'm out there murdering anyone.
well, we've
feeling.
agreed with a lot of things, and this is where I'll draw the line and say that this is where we will not agree, because despite me agreeing with the sentiment that if you're not doing anything wrong, if you're not doing anything wrong, it shouldn't matter. You should still have your right to privacy. I don't want to know. I'm gonna be honest. I'm about as weird as it gets. When me and my girlfriend are hanging out, we'll goof around and say goofy, weird shit all the time.
Gross.
But I don't
want to hear about that.
I don't want some guy in a
Podcast.
booth in Washington D.C. in his giant concrete building listening to phone calls or listening to cell phone audio come in, and he's like, "What are they calling each other?
Steven's
This is
talking
so
to his
weird.
girlfriend.
God, they're
That's
so
cute.
strange.
They're talking.
I don't care who they are, but it's none of their business.
Yeah. So
So do I have to live in the woods for me and her to goof off without anyone ever listening
So
to
I
that
I mean, you
information?
can also say people are gonna do bad. So the Unabomber. Me and my girlfriend, we watched the TV show Manhunt like a couple, like maybe a month ago. It's on Netflix, so we just like binged it. And
Yeah,
that
it's a great
guy
show.
was he did horrible things. He mailed bombs to random-ish people and blew them up, and most of them didn't die, so it's pretty bad. And if this technology existed now, they would have never found him because he was living in a hut in the middle of the woods. So I guess you could say like, yeah, it's gonna stop people, but if you want to do something horrible, you're still gonna be like, oh,
You'll find a way to do it.
I'll just throw my phone away and I'll just get burner phones or I'll just go off the grid completely.
Yeah, I mean, he was taking the train to places to drop a bomb or
he
drop
was
the
dropping a bomb
package
off 8 hours away from where he lived. Like
and
he was in, I can't remember the
was
state
it Wyoming?
but he was Wyoming or somewhere like 8 hours east of.
Yeah, but
LA.
he was completely in the
San
woods
San
and would
Francisco or something.
and then ride the bike to his local town, and it's a great show though.
moral of the story: don't be the Unabomber.
Don't be a dick.
I mean, well, the thing with him though was that, and you could trace this back to the government too, where he had, and you've seen the show. It's called Manhunt, the Unabomber story. And it's on Netflix if you haven't seen it, guys. Who's listening to this podcast? Girls who's listening to this podcast?
Go watch it.
But he was a genius at 16 years old. He went to Harvard, right? Stanford?
Sure. Yes.
Maybe we'll say. I think it's Harvard. I'm gonna go Harvard. He went
FBI
to-
guy, what do you say?
He went to Harvard at 16, was a genius, like a child prodigy, and he ended up going through some sort of MK Ultra process that the FBI put him through, and it messed with his head. I mean, it screwed up his head, and eventually he felt so insecure because he was already a 16-year-old being around 18 and 19 and 20-year-olds in his class. And things didn't work out, so I guess he graduated, got his degree, left. I don't know what else happened after he got his degree, but then he eventually just left and wrote that paper that, Vic, I'm pretty sure you read, the manifesto.
Mm-hmm.
So he writes this manifesto talking about how
It's currently sitting on my nightstand.
But you still stopped at that red light. You should have went through it, man.
Right? You should
Don't
just
let
went
those red lights
in the
tell
middle
you
of the
stop.
night, 5
living
o'clock
your
in the
life.
morning, he should have just left. Just
Don't let those
bolted.
red lights tell you what to do, Vic.
no, but
You're
he writes
Masters
this.
your own domain.
He writes this manifesto talking about how crazy life is and how we're relying on technology. Was pretty much how it was.
This is like in the 80s.
This is
Late
in the 80s, yeah.
Early 90s.
I think he actually released the manifesto in the
Manifesto.
90s, but he wrote most of it in the 80s and had not published it.
Industrial Society and Its Future, published September 19th, 1995.
So we encourage that you read this document. We're not saying that to go out there and live the way that he lived, but we do say that, at least, I don't want to speak for you, but do you not agree that
it's one of the most fascinating reads that I have ever had, because knowing the date of publication and then living in society 20 plus years later and seeing like a lot of what he was talking about kind of come to fruition, as far as the technological advances go and the impact it would have on society. I mean, the guy was a crazy terrorist. He was a bad person, but he knew what he was talking about.
Right. I think he the way that he went about his message was not the best way. And I'm guessing the reason for his methods was to garner attention. I feel like we're getting a little bit off, but still, the fact that he saw kind of all this coming, he tried to prevent, maybe not even prevent it, but just make people aware, you know?
Do you want the government to listen to you in the bathroom, though?
Taking poop during toilet talk?
Possibly. They can listen to you.
Toilet talk alert.
I believe the government probably could listen to you if you're using certain electronics in the bathroom, which just so happens to be
Our topic of the day.
for toilet talk.
Flush. Cue the flush. Today's topic during toilet talk. Electronics in the bathroom. Justin, what do you do in the bathroom?
Instagram.
Instagram?
There's a good solid 90, well, maybe 75% chance if I have ever liked a photo on Instagram. It's been while I've been on the toilet. Or
That is hilarious.
Just in the bathroom.
Every time I see a heart
Generally in the bathroom.
on my Instagram and it's from you, I'll know that you're taking a poop.
sometimes I'm just brushing my teeth. And I'm like, oh, I'll just,
Just generally
Passing
in the
some
bathroom.
time, doing a little two activities at once.
So what's
well, I
the
don't
normal
brush my teeth and poop at the same time.
Well, no, I mean, but
Smart.
you're
Only
brushing your
one of
teeth.
those,
But you're brushing your
okay.
teeth and
And
scrolling
those are the
on
two
your phone.
activities. Just wanted to clarify.
That'd be
for
three,
the
man.
listeners.
You brushing your teeth, pooping, and doing Instagram.
So you're pro phone in the bathroom. I mean, pretty much at any time. You said,
But-
regardless of activity.
But
I'm pro phone. in the
once you start
bathroom.
wiping the
goes in the
Is it hands
pocket
off?
or goes on the counter,
right,
and then it waits.
It's
you
not
can't
touched
contaminate
until
it.
after the hands are washed.
You don't want to contaminate it after you've already started wiping.
Yeah.
That's my thought process.
Have you ever, as guys, we also have the luxury of standing and peeing. Do you ever just, get the phone out at any point there?
Oh, like sit down and pee and then just like on your
No,
phone.
Or
you're
standing
standing.
phone, and
Standing.
then I don't think
you're
I've
not
ever.
dedicating the time to sit down. If I'm sitting
Oh.
down on the toilet, yeah, I'm probably gonna pull my phone out. But
Absolutely.
I'm not.
If you're
standing,
standing?
no, I don't think so. That's like guy's perspective.
I've been at work before, and I'll check a email or a text at the.
at a
Sometimes work can get a little bit busy, and so you don't check your phone while you're working. But then when you go to the bathroom and you're using the bathroom, pull it out. Who texts you? Okay.
because that's your 2 minutes that you get every 6 hours to actually
Sometimes.
check your phone.
Sometimes that's the way it is. Is that something you do?
Yes,
The standing phone check.
I'm a standing phone check guy.
I've
But it
checked
doesn't have
to
to
and
often.
from the bathroom. But I think normally I'll put it up
Yeah.
Back in the pocket.
Mm.
back in the pocket.
Enough time to respond.
I know I've
Put it up.
definitely gone to poop and then been like, oh, I don't have my phone. I need to go
Oh
back to
no!
my desk.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a long one.
I'll do that sometimes with my laptop, which I will
Not at work.
not.
Just want to clarify.
For those who are listening, who might be in the same office, no, I do not bring my laptop to the bathroom at work. But
I don't think I've crossed that line.
so I do have a squatty potty in my bathroom.
We
And-
have one. Samantha bought one. So.
Really? Well, so
Although
ours.
I think I'm a little bit taller than you, so I don't think I needed it as much.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is that the toilet that I have in my bathroom is shorter. So if I do use it, my knees are too high up.
Your phone
And,
just falls
and
back
so
in the
I don't
pocket.
need. Well, I don't. I just don't even need to use the squatty potty. And so I used it as a laptop prop.
Oh, well, I've had the problem where I've been on my phone. I'm like, all right, time to wrap it up,
Yeah.
and I'll put my phone back in my pocket, but my pants are down, right?
Yeah.
So I put my phone in my pocket, but my pocket's barely there. What do? My phone's about to fall out of my pocket.
and you've got fecal fingers. So
I got those hashtag fecal fingers.
What do I do? What do I
It's a
do?
little-
you shimmy it
Hashtag
in.
fecal fingers too.
Yeah, I gotta shimmy it in.
Yeah, that is a dilemma. I feel like most people have faced. But
I don't know.
Those are the tough topics.
I mean, I do like using the phone in the bathroom though, because what else do you do in the bathroom?
It's can be relaxing as far as it settles you in.
I like to sit down, read a little bit of Reddit, like a couple
Mm.
funny comments.
Yeah.
I'm doing my business.
So what's your go-to app? I know Justin, you said Instagram.
Oh,
kind of the go-to,
I like Instagram,
but-
or like when I have a Android phone, so I have a Google Slide tab, and it pays attention to everything I Google and look up on the internet. So the government sends me nice news stories about sports teams I like and YouTube videos I watch, and it's like, hey, we're gonna do you a favor, send you this.
Is this Big Brother that you're talking about?
Oh, we made a mess.
Oh God.
The monitor went haywire.
Our monitor has been
So-
hacked. It's wow. I don't know what just
Yeah,
happened.
that's weird for
It's like
those
lava.
of you.
I'll just unplug the HDMI.
That's
That's
weird.
HDMI.
Was there like a power surge or something? Big Brother at
just-
his finest.
I'll take this out.
It's probably from all the stuff that I've been Googling, like the Unabomber and U.S. population.
Where can we?
What place is the most populated?
Oh,
Jesus.
gosh.
Come on, Vic.
Things I don't Google while I poop.
I mean, what other
so,
technology? I
mean-
used to play Nintendo 3DS in the bathroom.
So that's been in there.
That's been years ago, though. This is a long time ago. Game Boy. When I was younger, Game Boy.
I mean, what's
was
your
a big
what's
thing.
your go-to? I mean, right now, I guess for all of us, it's going to be the phone. I mean, is it acceptable in your opinion? Do you text? Do you snap? Do you?
Well, all right. So for me, it's whenever I get home. I won't say all the time, but a lot of the time I will go straight to the bathroom because I don't like pooping at work.
But it's time. It's paid pooping.
That is true, but I don't like being near anybody in the bathroom when I'm pooping.
Yeah,
I'm kind of.
I know that feeling.
Me and Vic talked about this where I recently had tried using headphones in the bathroom. He has headphones like that, and then I will go in the bathroom, which I listen to music on the computer. I keep the headphones around me. It blocks off all the sound, and it's easier because I don't have to feel like it. It feels like no one's in the room with me. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I have performance pooping anxiety. Hashtag poop performance.
I mean, this is the one question that I want to answer here regarding technology in the bathroom. Being that we work in a public space and we have a shared communal bathroom with, people from our office and then also people from other offices. You ever been in the bathroom or any public bathroom where someone takes a phone call while they're taking a poop?
Yes.
I
Poop.
don't think so.
Would you ever do that? My answer is no.
No,
poop.
no.
Yeah. I'm in the zone when I'm trying to poop.
Yeah.
But, I mean, is that disturbing to you? Are you creeped out a little bit?
I've done.
Oh,
Sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
I just don't think I like to hear other people talking in the bathroom. I think
Yep.
it's a quiet zone in the world.
Mhm.
I would agree.
Now, what is your stance on if someone farts at the urinal? Do you laugh? Yeah, you laugh. You don't-
I don't know. I think it's a funny thing.
Yeah.
I think sometimes just farts in the bathroom.
even
You
if it's
hear,
in the
like, a loud
bathroom,
toilet noise.
even if it's in the bathroom, it's
A
still
little
funny.
reverb from the toilet.
Yeah, a nice
Whoop.
percussive sound.
Nice.
I agree with that though. It's really strange when someone's talking on. If it's in a public bathroom, oh my god, disgusting.
So I think we can go ahead and wrap it up here. We appreciate you guys out there listening and supporting the podcast in any way you can by giving it a listen or supporting us with bourbon, potentially. Donated bourbon.
By the way, this week's bourbon Buffalo Trace was sponsored by our good friend Stothy.
One of our good friends and avid podcast listeners was kind enough to pick up a bottle of Buffalo Trace for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was
With-
good.
We
Yes,
appreciate
thank
it.
'Cause they have-
And with that, he has also requested that we begin paying closer attention to rating the drinks that we consume on the show.
And I know that we had gone to the numbering system for a while. We want to go to the listing system where we kind of list out the drinks instead, like a power rankings of whiskeys, if you will. And personally, that's the best thing for me. If we do give this a rating, do you guys have a rating for this whiskey? And this is best out of 5, Justin, if you're not aware.
I'm aware. But
You can use decimals.
I enjoyed it very much.
Okay.
It was very potent, but very smooth.
It just settled on you so easy.
Hmm.
I didn't have any
Yeah.
much kickback whenever you swallowing it. Swallow it.
Strong 4.5.
4.5. I like that.
Because I don't think I can give anything a 5 without having it all.
Right. If
That's
you had
aggressive.
if you had it all, then you
Even
can start.
maybe a 4.75.
Ooh,
Even
guys,
maybe-
it's
on
the
a
highest
lucky
score we've
day.
had
To the
so
100th.
far.
Yeah.
Maybe if I had a really bad whiskey before it, it would be a
Mm.
4.75. But as of
God,
now,
you have to have
I mean,
bird,
just the
bird
beer-
dog.
You can have
apple
some of that
whiskey.
bird dog. We'll give you a
Oh,
shot
that
before
was
you
terrible.
leave.
If I had some of that from hearing that, I probably would give it a 6.
Buffalo Trace, I'm slotting in at about a 4.1.
Man,
I don't think I've given number rankings to
to the
the others
Blanton's
that I've
original
consumed, but
single barrel.
I mean that Blanton is so good.
It's crazy that, all right, if we were to go by rankings right now and power rankings for me, that falls slightly below what I remember the Blanton's tasting like. But this Buffalo Trace, and I felt like I tasted a sip one night when we weren't doing this podcast, and to me it didn't hit me how I wanted it to. It was an off night. Tonight we're drinking together, having a good time. Went down smooth. It was great, man. And I'm giving it like a 4.2, 4.25. It's if you're in the area and they have some at your local ABC store or your
You'll have
wine
to
and
ask
spirits,
for it at the counter.
they have alcohol at wine and spirits or liquor at wine and spirits.
Some places, I don't think in North Carolina.
Depending on whatever state you're in, if you can get some Buffalo Trace, highly recommend it.
So again, thanks for supporting, guys. Remember to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes so you can stay up to date on all of our content. If you feel so inclined, while you're there, please feel free to rate and leave us a review. Helps to drive our exposure on iTunes. Don't forget to check out our website, myshotoflife.com, and give us a follow on social media. That's at myshotoflife on both Twitter and Instagram. In addition to iTunes, please check us out on SoundCloud and Stitcher, where we will be posting our episodes each week. Feel free to reach out to us through our various outlets with comments and suggestions on future episode topics, as well as different drinks to try and rate. And remember, folks, if you're in the Raleigh area, make sure to follow along for our Raleigh Rambler podcast, which drops every Sunday. The podcast and related show notes will be available on the website, myshotoflife.com, and we'll fill you in on all the events going on in the Raleigh area for the upcoming week.
We would like to thank our guest this evening, Justin Groeger,
Hey.
for coming out. We really appreciate
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
your opinion on things and providing a healthy discussion on our subject today. And as we end this podcast, we appreciate you listening. And always remember, guys, drinks are better with friends.